We're back on the SportsMax Zone with Dr. Ralph Gonsalves, Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, who is said while the players needed to bear some responsibility in the abandoning of the tour, the ultimate burden rested on the WICB President Cameron, who should step down. Dr. Gonsalves, you have accepted that the players would bear some responsibility for what happened. Yet, based on your line of argument now, not really holding them accountable in any way for the debacle in India, and it's Cameron that you're resting all the responsibility on. Am I understanding that?
You see, as a good Catholic boy, we make a distinction in our theology between mortal sins and venial sins. You know? And there are some offenses you may call metaphorically hanging offenses, and others not. Saint Paul the Apostle always taught us to have a sense of proportionality in these matters. In all matters, we must have a sense of balance and proportionality and reasonableness. And I'm using this balanced judgment in coming to the conclusions which I've arrived at.
On this program last week, Dave Cameron, in responding to a question about the monies that are being sought by the Indian Cricket Board for loss of earnings, he had suggested that the issue would have to be discussed with the Indian board, which at the moment has its own issues in sorting out its own election and so on. And he also suggested that there is a forum within the ICC to discuss this issue. And yet we know that that CARICOM has been written to by Sanjay Patel, the Honourable Secretary of the BCCI, suggesting that they have to move on and they want their monies. What's likely to happen there?
Look, right now...
And just a follow-up, Prime Minister, do you believe, you had suggested that Cameron's attitude to the Indian Cricket Board somewhat angered them and left them gunning for this money. Do you know of anything specifically that he did in relation to the board which has probably resulted in it going after the money in this way?
Well, to answer the last issue first, you remember that earlier I said to you that his engagement with the BCCI, in my view, demonstrated suboptimal leadership.
Yes.
And I gave you one instance. But from what I have gleaned, they find it very difficult to deal with Cameron. They find it difficult to deal with Mr. Cameron. And right at the moment, he's in Dubai where the BCCI people are there and also the ICC. And he's begging and pleading. Give him another chance, let's make this thing up from future tours. To make that up from future tours is going to hamper the development of West Indies cricket.
You hinted at something just now, Prime Minister.
Listen to me, my brothers. I want to help West Indies cricket, and I will do whatever I can to help to persuade the Indian cricket authorities to look at the matter in a less harsh light than it is being viewed at the moment. I don't want to do that for Dave Cameron and to say, yes, he has solved this thing. And therefore, that is for him to be reelected. Look, if you don't, and I'm not saying he's an arsonist, but somebody who burns down a house, you don't reward them if somehow they get around to contribute to building it back. It may mitigate the problem.
You're hinting at something just now, Prime Minister, and it may be tying into some behind-the-scenes stories that we're getting as well. Do you get the feeling that the Indian Cricket Board maybe more lenient to the West Indies Cricket Board in this settlement demand if Cameron was not the president?
Well, I have a sense that what you say is not necessarily without merit. I answer you in a very guarded way. At the same time, as a nationalist, I will affirm that no cricketing authorities anywhere can tell us whom we should have as our president, and the Indian authorities are not suggesting that. So I want to make that point nevertheless.
Have you had any direct contact with the BCCI yourself?
I have had, as an interesting head of government, different sets of conversations with all sorts of different people. I am not going to confirm to you on this program who that I have spoken with or not spoken with.
Is CARICOM in a position to foot that bill should the Indians proceed as they've suggested in a letter to CARICOM?
Absolutely not. We can't foot any bill for that. We want to use our offices to see if we can fashion a possible solution. You may recall that in the letter which went off last year from CARICOM, spoke about quote-unquote a grand settlement. And I happen to know that a letter went off today under the hand of Prime Minister Keith Mitchell, who heads the three-member committee, which includes Prime Minister Gaston Brong of Antigua and Barbuda and yours truly, to interface with the BCCI and do so in consultation with the West Indies board headed by Mr. Cameron. The fact that I will talk with Dave Cameron is on this matter doesn't in any way at all negate my view that he should go.
What sort of person should be the president of the board?
Well, there is what you may want for the ideal and what you may have to get in the present circumstances. West Indies cricket is of such importance that the kinds of individuals who should be heading that body, whom we should be looking for, is like persons with the perspicacity of the head of the Caribbean Development Bank, the maturity and wisdom of a vice chancellor of the University of the West Indies, and some skill of the CARICOM Secretary General. I'm not asking clearly for somebody to assume the position of having the wisdom of Solomon and the foresight of some other Hebrew prophet. I'm not saying that at all, because I make the point that you can't necessarily get this ideal. But the possibilities that there are other names, including personages who have played for West Indies cricket, who have a balanced, mature judgment, and I'm not talking with people who have academic qualifications and the like. If you have that, fine. But I'm talking about people who are mature and balanced and who can rely on proper advice and who act in a collegiate way in going forward.
Okay.
Commandist forms of leadership are increasingly an anachronism.
Well, we continue to look to go forward, Prime Minister. Once again, we thank you for your time. Thanks for joining us on the SportsMax Zone.
Thank you.
All right, Dr. Ralph Gonsalves there, Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, as you heard, part of a three-man CARICOM committee seeking to help out West Indies cricket, says Dave Cameron should go. And if he's reluctant, well, the other territories should make it clear at the next election on March 7. We take a break. When we come back, we'll have your second and final zone update.